It's time for Join the Ranks, the prospect-focused podcast of the Dynasty Guru Network, helping dynasty managers win your leagues one player at a time. So settle in for an hour of conversation and insightful analysis with your hosts, Dynasty Guru managing editors Drew Klein and Chris Knock.
Welcome to episode 83 of Join the Ranks. I'm Drew Klein, and with me here is Chris Knock, and we are excited to bring you another episode of the podcast and talk about third base prospects and dynasty ranking tonight. Hey, Chris, before we get started, anything new, exciting, or mildly interesting to report?
Mildly. It sounds like I should have something here. No, Drew. What's on your mind?
I have nothing mildly interesting either, except for we're talking about a mildly interesting position. I think we were.
I like that.
That just kind of rolled off my. Not even prepared. Third base is there's some stars there, and then it drops off, and then it's not real deep, and there's just a lot of things going on in that position. But I think that makes it maybe even a little more crucial right now. But it's almost becoming, to me, the new catcher in that you don't know if a prospect is going to stay at the position. And I think I'm going to say that 3 times today when I was kind of highlighting people I want to talk about is, and it looks like he'll stay, or might have to be corner infield because he's looking at first. And I don't know if it's always been that way and just we haven't talked about it a lot, or if teams are putting even more emphasis on, the importance of fielding there. But we're not seeing the old traditional Matt Chapman, and before him, Matt Williams, to go way back, of course, Matt Chapman's a fielder, but
we're not seeing Matt Chapman.
Power production, the power production. And look at Rafi Devers. I mean, he was notably bad at fielding, and he hung out there for a long time. A lot of teams would have put up with that, and finally, Boston didn't, and San Francisco didn't even try because of the aforementioned Chapman. But you're just not putting, big guys who'll hit the ball far and, hope that your fleet shortstop covers the rest of the infield for them. And that ring true to you, or any other thoughts in your mind? Or is it just a cycle, and we're on a downslope of a cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I'll be honest. It's not just, are they going to stick there, but do you want to roster them is another question that unfortunately is kind of overarching on a lot of these names. Because of our conversations, I often think of the prospect end of everything first, and it's important to remember third base prospects aren't necessarily playing third base in the minor leagues, right? Ultimately, you might have a shortstop or second baseman even potentially move over to the hot corner. So that's some comfort that I tell myself when I was prepping for this, is that, there's not a lot of awesome bats or bats that I like typically, but it's because some of them are over at shortstop still. I mean, I think everything's cyclical. There's never one explanation for anything, and I think oftentimes life is cyclical. So those are two of my life mottos.
Yeah, and like I said a second ago, I think it makes this episode even all that more important. This topic of, if you got to have somebody, then if you catch somebody as a prospect and they do stick there and they do provide, if it's the power you're looking for, which a lot of times we are from the corner positions, or even high average and high OBP, then you're really glad about that. If you can lock that position and not have to worry about it for a few years, you're in a good position from a dynasty perspective. So a little business before we dive any deeper. We're releasing our positional rankings a week at a time here at TDG, and this upcoming week, the third baseman rankings will be coming out with the accompanying articles. And also, the people on the Discord already have seen the rankings and the full rankings. And Chris, I know we talk about it each week, but we might have a few new listeners today. Can you just kind of remind people how they can get involved with either the Discord and or early look at our ranking sheet? And also, is there a quick preview, a sneak preview of our release schedule for our top 200 prospects and top 500 overall?
You've really got to Give me the bullet points of what you want me to talk about, don't you? Yeah. No. Yes. So for those listeners who haven't listened to me before on this, we have 2 donation tiers. The first one, our $15 tier, gives you the ranks. Currently, we are every Dynasty list that we will publish on the website is on that spreadsheet for our $15 donations. And then every prospect list up to starting pitchers. So that's our last positional rank for prospects is on there. Starting pitchers probably will be not far after this podcast is released. We'll be up on that. So within days. So Groundhog's Day is a good target for that pitcher list on there. I'd throw out. So that is a $15 donation, gets you that access onto those ranks. And then for a $20 donation, $5 more, gets you into our Discord, which is basically having a walkie-talkie into the guru's minds. And well, if that's scary enough, I don't know. And you also get the ranking sheet along with that $20 donation. And basically our Discord is just where we hang out, where we chat, where we discuss a lot of trades. That's definitely our most popular channel, and a lot of banter there, but good people always talking about different things, showing pictures of their cats. Got to pay the cat tax. Yeah, lots of fun. Additionally, I talked about our pitching being our final position, prospect position list. We will be shortly after that, putting together our consensus top 200 prospect list. I actually wrapped my personal list up today. And so hopefully a couple others on the team will be following suit in short order. And we'll have a consensus top 200 list out probably, I would say, before Valentine's Day. And that Valentine's Day is also our target to start getting those top 500 lists, OBP, and we have a separate points list again this year, top 500. So we're looking to get the rough drafts of those around Valentine's Day, the final draft of our top 200 consensus list around then too. All of those will be available on our spreadsheets around then, and then won't actually be published on the website though until March. So if you got some drafts happening, action happening, otherwise you want to, see where the gurus put Caleb Durbin overall. He's just the name I look down on. I don't know if that's really a question a lot of people are asking in 2026, but we'll be able to tell you where Caleb Durbin falls. So yeah, there we go. That's our timeline for releases. $15 for those ranks, $20 for the ranks plus Discord access.
Well, thank you. And I apologize if the question was rather pedantic, but normally, Chris, we record in the morning, and in the morning you need questions like that.
I know.
But we're recording at night here.
I need them. So I still need them at night too. We've got
the awake Chris. Also, the beta version of our YouTube presentation continues. I know a few people are listening to us / watching us there. So welcome, and feel free to let me know what you think of that. We're just talking about continuing that in some form or another. Also, I've seen a lot of chatter on the socials and other places the past couple of weeks about FYPD drafts coming up. I know I've got one that starts on Sunday. So a reminder to everybody that our FYPD episode dropped a few weeks ago. So you can scroll back in your feed if you want to hear what Chris and I had to say about the ranks and get a feel for that as you're preparing for that.
And also along those lines, and segueing back into the Discord, is that on our website, we do have our top 60 FYPD list. And with, a good 20 plus blurbs by a bunch of us. But Discord, our donors who have access to the spreadsheet actually get all 120 or so ranked names. We don't have blurbs on, after those top 60, but we do have them nominally ranked. So if you got a deeper league and you want more names or want, our thoughts on those, join the Discord. Let's get the donation, and we are there for you.
We'll answer all your questions.
Yep.
All right. So since we recorded last week, there have been a few transactions, some more interesting than others. It hasn't been an exciting week, but I'm going to read through a few. And why don't you let me know if there's any here that holds any interest for you from a fantasy perspective or any perspective at all, really. Jose Ramirez was extended. Jacob Wilson was extended today. That was just announced. Looks like only about 1 year. He lost 1 year free agency through that. Looks like they're buying out his arbitration years, if I'm doing the math right.
Who's this?
Jacob Wilson with the Athletics.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say Jose Ramirez.
I started. Jose Ramirez was extended.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Jacob Wilson was extended.
Okay.
And then Harrison Bader signed with the Giants.
2-year deal, right?
Yep, 2-year deal there. Marco Luciano's strange offseason continues. He was now DFA'd by the Yankees. So the Yankees could pick up Dom Hamill, who not too long ago I thought was going to be a stalwart in the Mets rotation, but hasn't yet panned out for him.
No.
Colorado traded for Pearson Ole, a relief pitcher who relies heavily on his slider and change, which don't move as much in the altitude. They said those and curveballs, the spin rate is impacted for pitchers there. But prior to going to Colorado, he's had amazing strikeout to walk numbers. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And Colorado got Edouard Julien in the deal. He used to be a big maybe for quite a while. And then Brian Ramos was DFA'd by the White Sox. And Chris, without looking, how old is Brian Ramos?
26.
Brian Ramos is 23.
Hey.
We've been talking about him forever. I thought, my gosh, Brian Ramos, how long ago was that? And for those of you who weren't paying attention a few years ago, we thought he was going to be one of those guys who were just talking about a power bat who's going to lock down a corner infield position. Probably be a CI, but who knows, could be a 3B depending on how big your league is, how deep your league is. But never quite was able to hasn't yet. But that's the thing, he's only 23. I'm not going to write off a 23-year-old in life or in baseball. But it's just a funny thing. I know I bring this up almost every week, but it's just a funny thing how we're talking about these young men and so quick to move on. So I hope he catches on somewhere, and I hope he does really well. But the guy's only 23.
Was he really out of options? That's crazy.
Yeah. And now on the other end of the age scale, the Padres signed Marco Gonzalez, and the Braves signed Martin Perez. 2 pitchers over 30 who will get you some innings, fewer than 1 strikeout per inning. Chris, if you were on, your window is this year, they're available, and you're looking for somebody, say you've got a weekly lineup set up, so your SP5, you're plugging in based on matchups. Which one of these guys would you want on your bench, Marco Gonzalez or Martin Perez?
Oh my goodness, probably Martin. That's a seemingly a no-win situation, but Martin, I don't know. He's always been that guy who's annoyed me, so I'd probably pick him up. I don't have any real stats to back any of that up, obviously.
No. Well, I don't have stats either, but I had Gonzalez in a position like that in 2022, which is the last year before he got hurt. And he was serviceable in that. And again, it's kind of an SP5 depending on who they're playing that week, but he's coming back off of injury. So was it mid-year last year people started talking about Martin Perez? I think I picked him up at the end of last year, and then I didn't get any good starts out of him. So it's probably more personal than the stat on that as well. But I'm going to keep an eye and see if Gonzalez makes a team with the Padres. And for the right roster, where if I need a kind of a bench pitcher and can play matchups with it, he might be somebody I look at from those two.
Yeah. Maybe.
And pitching, you got to be quick to churn them out too if you get something like that. Don't lock in.
Correct.
And if it's a fab league, don't spend a lot of fab. But all right, so I think that's enough disclaimers. Anyhow, all right, let's jump into our third base prospects first. So I'll read through tier one and we can talk about what names interest you. I know there's one name here we've already talked, actually a couple names we've already talked about. But the TDG prospect tier one for third baseman are Sal Stewart, Mineka Murakami, Marcelo Meyer, Caleb Bonemer, Kazuma Okamoto, Jordan Lawler, and Jacob Reimer. What do you think of the tier, and who's your gotta have guy in that list?
The guy in that list, from a fantasy perspective now, I think Sal's got the best. He's our number one for a reason, I guess. Floor ceiling combo. I don't think he's going to get as many steals as he racked up last year, but he hit, what was it? I think it was 25 home runs between AA, AAA, and major leagues last year. Not bad for a guy who was initially thought of as a bat or a hit tool first, no power guy. So, will he continue being a third baseman? I don't know. But for now, he'd be the third. He would be the player I would target out of this bunch.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that surprising. It's number one.
No, I agree. Made a nice splash when he debuted last year. Hit the 5 home runs, and if I remember correctly, he hit them pretty quickly. He only had 58 plate appearances overall anyway, and he had 20 in the minors prior to that. I think looking at the rest of the list, we don't know what we're getting out of Murakami and Okamoto, but you'll probably be playing this year. We talked about Marcelo Meyer last time, and the Jordan Lawler experience is still there, and we still have Jordan Lawler ranked pretty high. He's got the skills. We just don't know if he's ever going to have the opportunity. I agree with that on Stewart, and to me, the bit of the mystery, and this may be a blind spot for me, is Jordan Reimer, who I had just outside my top 10. So I'm not down on him, but I was a little surprised that he got ranked in the top tier originally. I don't know what what you thought about that or what you think about him, and I don't know. Part of that is just the Mets don't know how to pick their baseman, or it's going to be crowded there. And he's only 21 and played AA last year, so it wasn't like he's blocked right now or knocking on the door anyway. He good on base percentage, always walks at a double-digit rate. Had 17 home runs last year, which was by far the most he's hit as a professional. So I'm not sure exactly whether this power development is, how real it's going to be and how sustainable. 6'2", 205, so he's not a small guy, but he's not a great big guy either. Trying to talk myself into him. I just don't see him as a tier one, unless we're saying that's kind of the quality of this position. So, well,
I think that's part of it. I'm not quite as low on him as you are, but definitely lower than the rest of the team. I had him at 9. And after him, really, it gets into a lot more wild cards. So, yeah, I agree. 17 home runs last year was by far his career high. He only hit the ball in the air 36, almost 37% of the time throughout the year. That's not super crazy good. He does walk. That is a positive. He doesn't net a lot of steals. I'll be honest, I see a lot of statistical similarities to Brett Batty up ahead of him in the depth chart. Mm-hmm. Solid hit tool, solid, can take a walk. So those are positives. That's good. Yeah. But he's not that big time power that you like to see out of your hot corner. He might have positional flexibility, but yeah, it kind of encapsulates my opinion on the position, unfortunately, right now.
He only played 16 games at first base last year, so he was primarily used at third base. Again, that's no guarantee, but more than some of the names we're going to talk about where they were maybe closer to 50-50. His swinging strike rate is right at 10%, and below that, a number of stops along the way, going to your point of good contact skills and everything. But as soon as you said the ground ball rate, Brett Beatty came to mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And it's Beatty's not, I don't know. I literally today traded for him in a 30-man, and it was more of I really need some middle infield help.
Yeah.
So if that's above you, yeah, that can be, overtaken. But at the same time, the Mets are not afraid to spend. So maybe that'll be something they'll look to improve outside of the organization at some point too.
Mm-hmm. And then the only other name I didn't really touch on is Caleb Bonamore, who people are high on, and I am too. I don't know if there's a whole lot to. Rather than me say that, what do you think of Caleb Bonamore?
I mean, I think third base is his eventual position. So he is likely one. He, as a 19-year-old, hit 12 home runs between low and high A, barely touched anything at high A, but performed really well in that small sample. And stole almost 30 bases. And not just stole them, but, he got caught roughly 15% of the time. So, I mean, that's a relatively successful rate. I think, obviously, those are low minors. That's something that I see translating down the road to like a low teens kind of pace, perhaps, as he matures and fills out, sort of thing. So if you're talking about a third baseman who's going to get, 20, 25 home runs and chip in, another dozen stolen bases, that's relatively impressive. So he's got a couple more years probably to bake up in the down in the minors, but I don't think we'll see him till 27 at the earliest, end of 27. So, but yeah, I think he is a future third baseman, athletic. He came up initially as a shortstop. So yeah, I had him at 6, which I guess is below the rest of the team too. But yeah, I like his future prospects.
Yeah, I think that's what really going on, with him. He's 19 years old. He's played the 1 year professional ball. And he can take a walk, which is great. His BABIP was high. So if that comes back down, will that 270, 280 batting average drop below 250? I don't think so. I think it's always going to be acceptable. I think he's going to be solid. I think he's a good prospect to have in a roster in Dynasty because, like you said, he's going to stay there. And 2-3 years from now, could become a regular there. But I don't think the rise is going to be any faster than that. I don't think he's going to break out this year and all of a sudden he's going to be like knocking on the door trying to be a 20-year-old in the majors. I do think it's a bit of a slow burn kind of for him to get up there. Mm-hmm. We'll move over to tier 2 now because we just hit on everybody. Unless you want to talk about Jordan Lawler some more, but I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Tier 2. Andrew Fisher, Juan Sanchez, Cam Collier, Parks Harbor, Brock Wilken, Tommy White, Danielle Ortiz, Alex Freeland, Lou James Groover, Xavier Nyans, and Demetrio Crisantes.
Well, there's a lot. I like a lot of these guys a little bit more, but I think the number one name that I've already highlighted a little bit with shortstops, even though I think he's ultimately a third baseman too, is Juan Sanchez of the Toronto Blue Jays. I was surprised that I was lower than many others, and I had him at 11 as opposed to 9. I actually stuffed him pretty high on my. Since I put together my third base ranks, I've put together obviously my 200, and I actually stuffed Juan Sanchez up. I'm just falling more and more in love with his power. And he's going to stay it looks like he was going to stay at third base. He's only in the DSL. So time was, you'll have to be patient. There's a lot of road for him to cover developmentally, but big time power, big ceiling. Juan Sanchez, I think I have him around like 80 on my top 200. So I'm all aboard the Juan Sanchez boat right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting aboard. I just had a hard time putting a DSL only player over some of the other names, or at least I knew a little about.
The real appeal for me is in 2 months of games, he hit 8 home runs. as a 17-year-old. Throwing in, he had double-digit walks and less than 20% strikeout. DSL we've talked about, but those general cutoff points for me are indicative of relatively strong, I should say, a good foundation for those, judgment of the strike zone and being able to put the bat on the ball consistently. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. He's got the frame for power, good strike zone and bat to ball skills, seemingly. Let's see what happens here in complex.
And then a pair of names I want to lump together are the two FYPD players in here, Andrew Fisher and Xavier Nyans, who were drafted right next to each other, actually. And the group hit Andrew Fisher the top of this tier and Nyans at the bottom. I had them in the same order, but both lower. You had the order reversed. I look at these two players. I think they both have the risk of moving off the position, but that aside, we'll just have to kind of make that a quick comment about almost everybody here. But I read Fisher as the higher floor and Nyans as the higher ceiling, but a potential much lower floor. And I think some of his contact issues may be real and they may come to haunt him. Recognizing that Nyans, if he hits his ceiling, I'll be wrong. But if they don't, then I feel safer with Fisher's floor. You had them reversed. How do you look at those two?
Yeah, I mean, one thing with Fisher, he was the third first rounder in a row or something like that the Brewers have taken. That's a corner infield, third base, first base combo.
Yeah.
And Luke Adams and Brock Wilken are above him in my ranks, and they're above him in the developmental ladder. So that's tough. It's hard for me to get too excited when they keep drafting at the same position. Orgs aren't, trying to address needs by any means when they draft, but so it's very possible that Fisher is the cream out of that crop. But they're performing solidly and above him. So that right there knocks down a couple rungs, I guess, for me is competition. And not just one player. Nyans, I don't know. The dude is a behemoth. And I have a hard time not seeing Carlos Correa in him. Again, I don't know if that's fair. I'm just thinking, mid-20s bat, and we'll see how strong that hit tool really is out of him. And he could be just the Redux Correa and shortstop to third base sort of life. So, it's more. I'm higher on Nyans, but it's damning with faint praise, I guess, at this stage in the third base.
And then the category of we're lower on a guy than the group is a lot higher is Parks Harbor, who you and I both had at 25, coincidentally enough.
I cheated.
11 on the group. So unless you have something you really want to say to him, I've got a quick surprise. I reached out to the ranker who had him the highest on our list.
Yep.
And that being Brian Laboud,
yep,
one of our senior writers and one of the coordinators of our Prospect Works, and said, "Hey, Brian," and it was this afternoon, I know you're busy, but you got a sentence or two, just what are we missing about this guy? And I got the 4-paragraph answer.
I love it. They are awesome.
And a table.
That is.
An image of his statue. So reading from Brian here, who was winning. Parks Harbor had upper tier power in college as a junior in SEC, and then took a big leap with his bat after transferring it to the ACC for his senior year. Started single A with the Yankees. Old for the level, but was good in his pro debut. High A the following year, or maybe the senior year, promoted high A, slash line bumped up in 34 games, 326, 395, 489. Then he was traded to San Francisco. He played 25 games at high A, and he was, in Brian's word, unreal with a 196 WRC plus, which is unreal. with a 333, 454, 644 slash line. And some of the StatCast data on him, 95.2 mile average EV, 63% hard hit rate. This is when he's in single A with the Yankees. 21% barrel rate, all rates that are unheard of. Low ground ball rate, high home run to fly ball rate of 20%, and then did well in the AFL. So he's been getting better at each stop. Should be at AA this year. And if the StatCast numbers stay steady, those are numbers that would indicate somebody who would be producing similarly at AA and AAA. So he had him as high as 4. He thinks the hit tool is among the best among the third baseman out there. And the power is above average, and plate discipline is above average. So I'm reading all that going, all right, glad I asked. Actually, very glad I asked, and would definitely, reading that and seeing kind of a deeper dive, like, okay, well, I can see like 4 or 5 guys right now I'd put behind him, that I have higher than him currently in my rankings. Thoughts, reaction?
The Laboods, both Brian and Daniel, are fantastic, and they obviously know their prospects really well. And I like how they do think outside of the norm, or outside of the box here in the fantasy echo chamber that we can sometimes find ourselves in. I do disagree here. Slightly old for the level, I think, is an understatement. 23 years old, right? Yeah, 23 years old in high A is definitely old for the level. I kind of get a little at 21 at that stage. So I think that's part of it. That's a large part of my hesitation here, is how real is the in-season. I think a lot of us are thinking of the AFL home run barrage he went on this past fall. And personally, I think that might be just clouding a little perception. I would love to be wrong. I would love for the Laboods to be right here. I just can't. It's fine. It is fine contact data, right? I mean, low 73% last year combined between all of his low A and high A stops. But again, we're talking about a 23-year-old with big power. Yep. And he'll need it if he does make it to the majors in San Francisco, because we know that Oracle Park just eats up fly balls. So, for righties and lefties. So I just, it's a bad combination that I just am not ready to jump on. And if I'm late on this one, I am okay with that.
Fair enough. Another name who I didn't go to anybody on, but a similar kind of disparity between us and the group is Alex Freeland with the Dodgers, who I may be down on because I've had him rostered at least 2 places. Kind of frustrating waiting for him. Then he was really overmatched when he did play in the majors. He was decent in AAA last year. He had a 263, 384, 451 slash. That's a 115 WRC plus. 16 home runs, 18 stolen bases, moves back and forth between second base and third. And I think he had shortstop eligibility the year before that. So I don't know exactly where he's going to settle, though it looks like he did play a lot of third last year. I don't know whether the opportunity is keeping him lower on my rankings, or just that there's nothing there that's kind of blowing me away. But I had him at 30 and really behind some names that aren't that impressive either. I'm not impressed with Alex Freeland at all. But I know there's some people, not just among rankers, but in some leagues I'm in as well, who are really high on the young man. So I know you're not super high on him either, but is there anything in his profile that you do like, or do you see a little more optimism than even I have?
He is someone that I've kind of checked the temperature on in some of my 30-man deeper leagues because of that positional flexibility. He's another one who doesn't have a depth chart or an org in his favor at all. But I haven't been able to pull him I'm not like overspending for him. It's more just, kicking the tires. So I've never found a price that I've liked in trying to trade for him currently. Alex Freeland, last year's strikeout rate was just this huge anomaly, and there's no real his contact rates did decrease, but for someone who has I guess his 8-game sample in his debut draft year, he had a 30% K rate in low A, but he's never been above 28% otherwise, and mostly in the low 20s. So he's had average strikeout rates, and to have this just anomaly, it's like most of his swings and misses were in the zone too, which is kind of spooky. But the positional flexibility is a plus. I thought maybe he might have a chance to unseat Muncy there at third base in the long run. But again, it's the Dodgers. You don't know who they're going to trade for next. And that very well could be the end. His debut last year, I think, really potentially even soured the org themselves. That's more of just a, I'm not seeing any life raft right now. Something could happen, but it seems like he missed his opportunity and really scared off a lot of us from the fantasy end. Mm-hmm. Alex Freeland did.
Yeah, I agree. And then anybody else in this tier before I jump to read tier 3?
What's the end of our list? Sorry, I already forget. Was Freeland the last one?
Not on the list. I pulled him out.
That's okay. I can talk about Daniel Ortiz. I mean, he's another guy with big power. He was,
and Ortiz is right in front of Freeland.
Yep. We had him at 14, and I had him at 15. Believe it or not, it's crazy. I think I'm high on these guys, and apparently I'm not. But he was a 20-year-old at high A last year. He only struck out 22% of the time. I've already lost Parks Harbor's numbers, but and he hit 3 home runs in 30 games. Very small sample size at high A, but he's only 20 years old. Those are numbers where I'm like, this is a lot more awesome, right? This is someone who I'm jumping behind much quicker than Parks Harbor. And just because when you're 20, there's so much less that's set in stone about your body shape, your swing paths, etc. You're more coachable, in my opinion, when you're younger than when you're a little bit older than like Parks Harbor is. But he does have some swing and miss issues. He 71% contact rate. He's younger. He's our average age for a high A, but I think there was smoke around him last summer. I haven't heard much this offseason about one to watch, but I think we could see him coming up there and hopefully being at third base for the Cards. I'd say end of next year too. I think is a good window for him. Cup of coffee.
Yeah, a little aggressive, but I like it.
Yeah.
He also had 39 stolen bases.
Yeah.
And he's 6'1", 230. So it's a big guy coming down to second base, barreling down on the shortstop, taking the throw. I don't know if that'll stay that high. And most of those were at single A, where he played like 2/3 of his games. But
yeah, he was nowhere near as successful at high A. I imagine those are gonna go down.
Yeah. I like him as well. I had him about where the group had him, and I think the Cardinals may have he was picked in the 16th round. They might get a steal with that one.
Yeah.
And then we had Lou James Groover and Demetrio Crisantes rounding out that group. Both players who I like. I've liked Groover for a while. Arizona's been moving people up slowly, so I don't know if it's a matter of a wait and see with him, but I think those are both players worth rostering and holding on to in a medium to deeper league.
Yeah. Groover, I think I compared him to Alec Boehm last year, at least in my head I did.
I think you said he's the player we wanted Alec Boehm to be, or something like that.
Yeah.
Alec Boehm would be.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't see that much more home run power in him ultimately. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's what I was thinking. If he can hit those homers, that's what we're hoping, what we wanted Boehm to be. But otherwise, and Boehm is a very rosterable, has had a very good career, up and down top teens for us probably at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good turnout.
And then tier 3, these are a bunch of guys who I think if you really like him for one reason or another, you're going to have on a roster, but I'll read the names and we can go through there, but I'm not. Luke Adams is at the top. This comes from 19 through 29. Luke Adams, Brendan Winokur, Josh Hammond, Blaze Jordan, Devin Fitzgerald, Chase Harlan, Jace Young, Javier Rivas, Yohani Morales, Shea Whitcomb, and Jesus Baez. I know last year I picked up Winokur in a few places and thought he was going to kind of take off. I haven't dropped him yet, but he didn't have the year last year that I was kind of thought he would have when we were talking about him a year ago. I think same could be said for Shea Whitcomb. I hate to say it. I know I was pretty high in him last year and haven't seen it. I honestly don't know what to make of Jace Young because
neither do the Tigers.
Neither do the Tigers. I watch him a lot, and he is so overmatched and nervous. I may have said in the pod, like he is so tight at the plate. You think there's gonna be sawdust on the ground. He's holding the bat so tight. And then I take a look at his numbers. He had a good year in AAA last year.
Damn.
Like he's a good baseball player at that level. And I don't know if he just needs another year older. He'll come in more mature and steal the position this spring or not. But I don't think the door is really going to be open for him now that Gleyber Torres signed his option, and they're going to want to keep Keith in the lineup. And I don't give up on him totally, because when I try to just be objectively, if I take the name off the plate and just put the numbers on the screen, like those are pretty good numbers. Yeah, kind of what he's been able to do in the minor league. So I know there's something there. I just don't know if it'll come to fruition at the major league level, and it probably won't be anytime soon.
Yeah. I unfortunately agree with you on that one. It was 2025 was not a good year for Jace Young. That's for certain, unfortunately. And I think it doesn't look like 2026 is going to be that much different from a fantasy impact perspective.
Yeah.
I just saw that he had a 9 WRC plus last year in the majors. Sorry.
It's out of 10, right?
I don't think I've ever seen a 9. I've never looked, but that's the first single digit one that and that's registering in my head.
And he had a 124 in AAA.
Yeah. That's nerves, hopefully.
Yeah.
I changing the tune a little bit. I mentioned Luke Adams. I had him at number 8 overall on my list. I think Luke Adams is going to be a big league baseball player. I think he's going to be a 3 true outcome type. Maybe not quite that kind of power, but he had a 24% walk rate in 8 games at high A last year. They moved him up to AA, and he played the majority of the season there with almost 15.5% walk rate. The problem could be or would be his undoing is it's borderline passivity. Do I have a swinging strike rate here? Yeah, 33% strike rate. Basically stop after stop in his minor league career. When he swings, he doesn't miss. He only had a 7% swinging strike rate. So it's basically a walk or a strikeout or a double. Not even a double, unfortunately. He connects. He'll connect. He'll get power. He's kind of, but and he steals a decent amount of bases. It's just he just needs to be a little bit more aggressive in the box and just swing a little bit more instead of always waiting on his pitch. But yeah, I like Luke Adams. I think he can be he's one I like. I'm a little bit more bullish on with just that approach and the potential for power. Hopefully he'll take my heat and swing a little bit.
Yes, it says here his swing percentage last year was 33%. That's like Harry Ford low. His swinging strike was only 7%. So when he does swing, he's putting the ball in play. But his BABIP is really low. But it's been low all the way through. But it's not because of ground balls, because he's only got a 37% ground ball rate.
Yeah.
There's a lot to dig in here to try to figure out how these numbers all come out the way they do, because they don't they don't look like they all would match up. But you're right, that walk rate.
It's lower than
OBP.
Last year. Juan Soto had a 35% swing rate. So
Okay.
he swings less often than Soto.
Yeah.
Obviously at different levels, but
it doesn't hit the ball as hard when he does. But yeah, I mean, I had him a little higher in the group, but I don't think I would have had him top 10.
I'm aggressive.
All right. Yeah. But good one to keep an eye on. Oh, about this position too.
Yeah. Third base and, first base. He's one of those corner infielders that Milwaukee loves to draft over and over again. I've spoken for him. Luke Adams.
Okay. All right. Anybody else before we go to the sneaky deeps?
No, I think I'm ready.
Okay. So I looked at our sneaky deeps from last year, and then I did a quick listen to that part of the recording. And we said the same thing then, that they're sneaky deep for the position, but not as deep as we go at other positions because of how shallow the position can be. So mine was Kyle Karros, who Colorado at AA and AAA hit 301, 398, 476, and they got called up for 43 games in the majors. 226, 308, 277. So didn't overwhelm in the majors, but pretty rare. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the only sneaky deep we had that got that far. Roster Resource has him back in AAA right now, but Willie Castro's at third base ahead of him. So he's hit or miss. We'll see how that lasts. And yours was Johnny Severino, who last year was a 20-year-old in single A. 215, 277, 359 with 11 home runs and 10 stolen bases, which at the time is what you said. He's got power with swing issues. So kind of nailed that one. I don't know. I think we can take 1.5 out of 2 out of that, giving us a 2.5 out of 6 for the season. What do you think?
I can't double check your math that quickly, but that seems reasonable.
All right. Well, I don't want to say a full 2 for 2 on them, but they both did well, and they're both rosterable. So to go sneaky deep, you want to go first this year?
I really had a hard time here. If we had that the warning sign last year, I felt even more so this year. So I guess a name that I did want to talk about, is he even sneaky anymore? I don't know. Is he over? It's Austin Charles of the Kansas City Royals. He came up as a shortstop. The dude is tall. He's now 22 years old, but he's 6'5". We were worried he's tooled out, right? He hit 10 home runs in low A and 36 stolen bases in 24. 25, he only hit 2 home runs, and that was the question mark to me. He didn't play a full season. He only played about half the year, but only the 2 home runs. And so I think it's more of a sneaky as in, like, if this power starts ticking back, which you would expect a 6'5", 200+ dude to be, if his power comes back, he's going to explode, or at least start getting talked about and getting some helium. Because right now he's basically off everyone's radar. So Austin Charles, I don't know if he's a sneaky deep. He's a sneaky watch, I guess, more than anything. Is don't get ready to give up on him yet, even though he's probably, I don't know what his rank or his rostership percentages are, but it's probably pretty low. I would be surprised if he's taken in, on a lot of 30-mans even. It was a bad year last year, so.
I'm going to bring, I actually went back and forth with 2 players. I'll tell you who the backup was when I'm done, but for my official entry, I'm going to go with Isaac Pacheco, who plays in the Detroit system. He was a second-round pick in 2021, but has moved very slowly through the Taggart system and spent 2025 in high A. He was a high school draftee when he was drafted. One reason for that could be the surplus of infielders that Tigers have had in the system, but that's giving him the benefit of the doubt because I think the real culprit was his contact rate. So 2025 showed considerable improvement. His contact rate increased to 69%, which is not great, but it's a 5 percentage point increase over the year before, resulting in a 258, 388, 499 slash line with 17 home runs and 25 doubles and a 155 WRC plus last year. I don't want to put too much emphasis on 1 year, but it does look like a bit of a kind of a mini prospect breakout. And this may be a very important year for him. And if the contact rate progresses and conversely the K rate continues to come down, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about Pacheco a year from now. So that's Isaac Pacheco in the Detroit system. And the other player I was going to bring is a power first left-handed hitter with contact issues by the name of Sean Keyes in the Toronto system. Came out of Bucknell. So he hit only batting average of 219, but he had an OPP of 365 and 19 home runs last year. So Sean Keyes might comp to or Elvis Martinez, and I was just thinking him because he's in the same system, but also came up with high power and possible contact issues. So that's not necessarily a strong stamp of approval, but somebody else, if the contact, keep an eye on for this year, and if the contact issue does get solved a little bit, might be worth rostering going forward. So
you know that I'm changing it up. Or Elvis got DFA'd, right? And
I did see that today when I was going through.
Yeah, picked up by someone else, Nationals.
Yeah. They have a weird mix of players going on over there too. All right, so why don't we now, per our schedule and our agenda, jump over to our overall Dino rankings, and we'll read the top 10. Our top 10 third basemen from a Dynasty perspective are Junior Caminero, Jose Ramirez, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Manny Machado, Austin Riley, Michael Garcia, Alex Bregman, Jordan Westberg, Matt Chapman, and Isaac Paredes. Top 10, what do you think? Who's your must-have?
Yeah, I won't choose the top guy again, even though everyone loves Junior. I actually didn't realize this, but I have the 6, and this isn't revolutionary, but I have the same 6 as our overall. That's pretty chalk, I think. I sneak in someone else who's in our next 10, so I'll stop on that. But, I think Michael Garcia is my pick to click, or whatever you want to say, out of that 10. Speed out of the third base, as you sold me on with Shaw last year, is fantastic. He's getting 20 plus bases, almost a lock to get 20 plus bases. He doesn't strike out. His walk rate has gone from 7% to 9% year over year. His home runs went from 7 to 16 year over year. And he's still only going to be, he'll be 26 for most of the season. So, you look at his projections, you're looking at about a dozen home runs and 25 stolen bases. It's possible that power really starts clicking up. His ISO has been creeping up every year. And he's only 25. He can put on hit the weight room here. And so I really like Michael Garcia. And he could be an all category guy, more so a stronger all category guy. And it wouldn't surprise me when we'd see him, up there in that top 3-4 spot.
Yeah, the very first article I wrote for the Dynasty Guru was a year before I joined the team, but I had been talking to Taylor about something and actually guested on this very podcast and talked about the value of stolen bases. And this is before the rule changes and how a player could, like a John Birdie, has that value if he's going to own the category for you. So I was looking at players in kind of the AA, I think there's folks in AA, high A, high stolen bases and high OBP. figuring that there's a lot of people who steal bases but never make it to the majors because they don't get on base. And he's like the one name in the list who made it. And I listed like 10 guys. So, batting 100. I'm not going to brag about the research, but I remember he was the one who, and for a while, it took him a little while to really click. But so I think last year was real. I don't think that's going to be a career year by any means. I think he's going to be, kind of nestled into our top 10 for a while. And if you as a fantasy manager were savvy enough to roster him early, you're pretty happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this. I'm a Manny Machado guy on the field, and I'm still high on him. I think the slope is coming for him, but there's a few veterans on here who have been kind of managed to hold on, and playing any position is hard, but third base seems to be a position where you can have some longevity. And I think of like a Matt Chapman coming back into our top 10 after spending a year outside of it. And, Alex Bregman is no spring chicken. I think that Machado at 4, I thought I was being aggressive putting him there when I did my rankings, and then seeing that it was pretty consistent across the board. That's kind of where we all see him, was reassuring to me, I think a little bit, but probably from a dynasty point of view, if I'm got a team and I'm not contending, I wouldn't mind moving him to a contender this year to see what comes back. And I'd probably say the same thing about Bregman and Chapman, probably. But anybody else on that list, I'd want to hold on for a few years.
Yeah. I don't know. Machado seems to be this guy who just keeps on going and going and going. I mean, just his numbers, he's kind of like the Freddie Freeman of third base, I guess. Which is awesome. And I would much rather hold on to Machado too long than Bregman. Which maybe is not anything revolutionary now that I think about that a little harder. But Machado, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, in my opinion.
At number 11 is Noelvi Marte, followed by Sal Stewart, Royce Lewis, Addison Barger, Eugenio Suarez, Minetka Murakami, Matt Shaw, Colt Keith, Mark Vientos, and Marcelo Meyer rounds out our top 20. Let's talk about Noelvi for a minute, shall we?
Yes, I was hoping you would. I know how much you want to talk about him and bring it, just shine that limelight down on him.
Shine the light. I've got posters of him all over my wall. No, I was mildly surprised to see your ranking of him. And I even thought I put him at 16, and I thought, I still want to say this is too high. I don't want to, but I'm not going to totally ignore the good half year he had last year. I'm not going to totally ignore his potential ceiling. I just wish he came closer to it a lot more often. And I know I've said that a lot before, so I'm not going to hammer on it. You see it though. Let's talk about where you have him and why.
Well, he's one that I had in my write-ups, so I'm going to kind of spit out the same thing, because this truly is it. Is if we rewound 3 years ago or whatever, when he was a top prospect, right? And we would see that I'm trying to find this, that his max exit velocity as a 23-year-old in the majors at Great American Ballpark, he's hitting 116 mile an hour home runs. That he has a 29 feet per second sprint speed. We would think he's the number 11 dynasty player, right? Like, you'd be like, oh my God, he's in the great home field. He's running fast. He's hitting the ball hard. This is what we want. And the fact that it turns around and he gets 14 home runs and only 10 stolen bases, and like, it's not that he's getting thrown out. He's just he's not stealing, right? He's not hitting home runs. He is streaky. I get it. It's crazy, but to be 23, this tooled up, I can't give up yet. And especially when it's a relatively weak position, it's good enough. He's not going to be on the waiver wire, right? He's going to be on a roster I want him on my roster. I want him at least in my corner infield and spot, and just keep waiting for those hot streaks, and hopefully that turns into a more consistent streak. Yeah, and I also play Roto, which is what we rank for, and that makes it a lot easier to swallow too.
We also rank for OBP, and that's not there. His career OBP is under 300. Yeah. Although he hit that 300 last year, and I won't take a walk. The 4% walk rate last year, and that's fine if you're. I would like to see it, because I would like the player he can be, if like all the things come together that you put together, would be exciting. And can you imagine that batting right behind Ellie with some of the bats they have in that lineup? I mean, that would be a blast to watch. Yeah. I just hope they can find a way to tap into that for a full season. And we've had a lot of seasons where we haven't seen it. I don't think it's a small sample that I'm looking at. So,
I realize that I'm going to be skewing your statement here pretty hard, but if we rewind to the beginning of our episode, we talked about another 23-year-old who just got DFA'd, and he said, I can't give up on him, or I can't give up. He's only 23. He's not done. He's not done. I realize that we're talking about a DFA versus a guy who I have ranked number 7 at his fantasy position. I get it. So, but he's only 23 years old, 24 this year. So,
the morning Chris lets me get away with some consistencies.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, speaking of enigmas, Royce Lewis, who we're all pretty consistent on, I'm at 11, the group had him 13, you had him at 14. Are we buying in now that he's going to be healthy and do what we'd hoped for, that the 403 plate appearances he had last year is going to be kind of regular going forward? I mean,
you say,
I'm hoping it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
403 plate appearances. I mean, that's still only 100 and not even 110 games.
Right.
Which is,
But it's way more than what he normally does.
It is. But that's only 13 home runs. I mean, I don't know. It's really weird that his power just disappeared last year, when it was for his first 2 years, 2 full year, quote unquote, full years in the majors. He was showing a lot more. There has to have been, I think it was his oblique. I don't know if that was lingering from the beginning of the year. I think that's when it was. And so I think there's some, if it wasn't his oblique, he definitely was hurt. He only played in 106 games. And so that's what I'm thinking, is that he actually this year was able to play through something, and his numbers dipped because of it. So he's kind of intriguing in my eyes at this point, because I think his talent is higher than this. We all know the health portion. Yeah. So if you have bench space, and that kind of flexibility, I think he's a tasty little depth piece that you could be chasing for your roster. You're looking for a little sugar. Royce could be that sugar for you.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that about the power, because his hard hit rate was actually a little bit higher last year than the year before, a little lower than, it was 40.3. 24 is 37, 38. 2023, it was 42, so a little bit higher then. And his contact rates have been consistent, and his fly ball rate has been consistent. So when you look at some of the surface data that we have access to, barrels were down. Other than that, launch angle was the same. His max EV was 113, higher than last year. His average EV was higher than the year before. So it's not, I think there's a little bit of bad luck in there, which is not great analysis. But my analysis is there's a lot of numbers in this page, and none of them are jumping out as, hey, here's why the home runs went down. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in the medical profession, they call it the differential diagnosis there. You just checked off a lot of boxes of what it can't be. And so you're left with bad luck. And my differential was injury, bad luck. It could be both, right?
Yeah. I'm not arguing with you. I just think like the injury, then would you see that in the hard hit rate? Like if I'm hurt, I can't hit the ball as hard. It's not going to show. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I also both be wrong. It's not a fully binary scenario.
Like you said, a few years ago, we thought as he's come up as a prospect, we thought he'd be fully in the top 10 here for his career. He's outside of it, but not so far that we're giving up on him. Like it's like, if I have 5 of them on a roster, I'm holding them. I mean, it's somebody really want to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else in that group that you want to talk about?
No, I think we can move along.
Yeah. Because our next tier, starting at 21, is old friend Jordan Lawler, Miguel Vargas, Brett Beatty, Caleb Bonamber, Max Muncy, LED, Kazuma Okamoto, Alec Boehm, Josh Young, Connor Norby, and Brooks Lee. Kind of an interesting group there. I did highlight Miguel Vargas, who I was pretty much the same as a group. You're a little bit lower. I know that coming up, he was so highly regarded in the Dodgers system, went to Chicago. Don't know what plays into all that. I mean, I think a lot of people read a lot into that one photo where he just looked so dejected in one of his first games with Chicago. And you'd mentioned tangentially about Luis Robert and what was going on in Chicago and maybe how the new scene will help him. Will a new attitude in the youth movement in Chicago help Miguel find what he used to have? And I think that's what I'm holding on a little bit, because there's just flashes here and there where he, put together some, a string of good games, a string of a couple good weeks here and there. Didn't really hold up across the whole season, but I still think the talent base is there. So whether it's as a corner infield position or a utility bat, I'm kind of stashed in a number of lineups and kind of putting some hope in there that he's going to surprise a few people and provide some health accounting stats for a fantasy manager. Am I too many sunshine and unicorns there, or
no? I don't think so. Yeah, I think it was interesting when he got traded from the Dodgers. And, he had one good year in the minor leagues and his prospect stock just skyrocketed, and he's really never actually replicated that. Maybe last year was the closest he came to replicating that, which is, it's his second full season, and that's to be expected, and that's good. He's another guy who doesn't swing that much, although he swings a lot more than Luke Adams does, and more than Soto does, as a matter of fact. But 16 home runs, it's reasonable. I think, to me, the biggest boon from Miguel Vargas is the potential that being young, still 26 years old this year, can bring the rejuvenated team. Yeah. But then positional flexibility. The negative against him is that the White Sox signed Murakami, and whether I don't know who's going to play third or whatever. I'm sure it'll all work out, and they'll both get probably plenty of playing time. But he does play the same positions that Murakami is slated to play too. So I keep that in mind. We'll see what happens, but he might end up being a super utility and get all over the infield, perhaps. So I'm not out on him. I am lower, but he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. That's kind of
sorry.
Maybe the headline for this episode. They're fine. Yeah. Like right now, Roster Resource has him at third base and Murakami at first, but who knows what that's gonna. Their projections right now, it's not an official word from the White Sox, so we'll have to wait and see there. His WRC plus last year was 101, and 100 is the average, so he's average. Our average third baseman lands at 22 at our ranking.
Yeah.
Is that ring right? Yeah.
That sounds about right. And what do you know?
Yeah, okay. So
that's actually pretty slick.
I don't have anybody else in here I really want to talk about, but is there anybody that you had notes on you want to share?
No. A lot of these names we've talked about either here or this pod itself or earlier in other positions. So Josh Young had a rough 2025. I don't know. I don't know. I keep giving him the benefit of the doubt and it doesn't get backed up. So I don't know. It was a tough year for both of the Youngs. And I can't say that I find either of them ultimately appealing for fantasy purposes right now, unfortunately.
And then, as you mentioned, Alec Boehm is in this tier. Only 28 years old, but the 2023 was his career year so far. And again, he's got the 105 WRC plus, solid, a little bit above average. Not the star we thought he might be.
He's fine.
You know what? He's fine. He's fine. I heard years ago that the Phillies AA ballpark is really, really hitter friendly. So their prospects all get a boost. And that was as he was coming up. So as people the warning of people who are looking at that were saying, be careful with Alec Boehm. He's not going to be who you think he is because he's getting this boost in the ballpark. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I always think of that when I kind of see what he's really doing.
Well, he hit 14 home runs that year at AA. I will also add, was 2019, the year of the rabbit ball in the minors as well. So yeah, his 21 home runs that year are his career high as a professional as well. So noted.
All right. So that, I guess, brings us to the end of the third base position, which is fine. As well eloquently put.
Coming into today, I actually was like trying to think of, I come up with these like, all right, maybe this is a theme I can talk about, and it was going to be about hot, and I was going to try hot corner. I was going to try and bring in the word hot, and obviously this is probably the first time I've even said the word today. So yeah, I was going to try and talk about how hot this is, but it's fine. Yeah.
Sometimes the organic themes work best.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you very much. Always fun talking to you.
I have so much fun as well, Drew. Thank you.
All right. You bet. Until next time. And to our listeners out there, thank you also. We know how valuable your time is. Thank you for spending so much of it with us. Take care, everybody.
Join the Ranks is produced and edited by Drew Klein. Content research by Chris Knock and Drew Klein. Intro and outro voiceovers provided by Colson Probst. Unless otherwise noted, the hosts' rankings and opinions are their own. And, as is painfully obvious, Chris and Drew still refuse to share their player lists prior to recording.